Is all the news about the coronavirus causing you anxiety? Are you confused by all the information out there? Not exactly sure how seriously you should be taking it? The situation is evolving fast. News is everywhere and it's incredibly noisy. We need to know what's going on, but we still need to live our lives. So how do we educate ourselves quickly by separating out media hype and relevant information we can action? So I'm going to go through how I'm dealing with it, which might save you some time and anxiety about the whole situation. In this video, I'm going to go over how I'm defining the problem, why I'm even bothered, my values, how I'm designing my approach, how I'm sourcing my information, key points from my research, and what my actions are. I follow the same process for everything in my life. My approach to coronavirus is no different. See my life design videos for details. First, I need to understand the problem. The coronavirus appears to be a significant problem that is likely to have a lasting impact on my life, at least for the next 6 months, in terms of work, social, and family. But I'm not an expert in this field, and there's an unlimited amount of information, some of which I suspect is hype. I don't have unlimited amounts of time to sift through the information though. There's going to have to be a balance. I'll need to do things efficiently. So what do I value? I value keeping healthy and also ensuring people close to me are healthy. I want to understand what actions I need to take to optimize my position and mitigate any risks that might affect my lifestyle. I really hate being anxious about something and not being informed. Generally, being uninformed makes me even more anxious. I also value my time. I don't want to waste it reading unnecessary news, overhyped information, and rubbish that the media pumps out just for the sake of publishing stories. I don't want to do things that are completely inconvenient, especially if they're unnecessary. Things like never leaving the house for months on end. So I'll be looking for actions that can have a sizable impact with minimal effect on my lifestyle, where possible. Where I need to take drastic action, if I do, I want to know why so I can have conviction behind those actions. Finally, I generally believe in controlling what I can control and not wasting any energy on things I can't. So the design approach with how I'm going to think about things. So using my decision-making process, see my other videos on decision-making, two important aspects for coming up with an action. And it's a learning and deciding. I need to acquire information to allow me to draw a picture I believe is as accurate as possible before I act on it. It must be something I'm willing to live by, and this requires trust. So with learning, it's about acquiring the knowledge you need for the decision you're going to make. Deciding is the process of choosing which piece of that knowledge you've acquired you will draw from, weighing them, which is prioritization, then determining a course of action, what to do about it. To create the most accurate picture, I need to ensure best possible sources of information. If you acquire knowledge from the wrong sources or sources that are unreliable, it will create a potentially distorted view. I won't ever totally know the truth, but I have to have trust in that source. Piecing the information together myself is hard. I'm therefore choosing to outsource as much of this as possible by pulling in people with knowledge and a background I trust. The goal is if I select the right people and sources, they will have done the due diligence or have the respective expertise that I can use so I don't have to educate myself from scratch. The bottom line is I am consciously happy to rely on their opinions, and if they're wrong, I can accept that. Obviously, after I've consolidated it and come up with my thoughts on it. So I've now discussed this with doctors I personally know, people who are working in the NHS, including nurses, to look at the possible and future situations. I'm also in touch with investors in the finance world whose interest is to be as informed of the risk as possible, as their money relies on it. I've been through lots of information online now, and a lot of it from people I trust. Now, one of the best pieces of information I've found, which encapsulates a lot of the general knowledge about the coronavirus itself, is the Joe Rogan interview with Michael Osterholm. Link in the description. Anyway, that video is an absolute must watch. So the key points I've taken away from all my research: trust information from the CDC and the WHO mainly. Breathing. And not just contact is the problem. It is very contagious, particularly during the incubation period, before people get symptoms. Asymptomatic people who display no symptoms at all can pass on the virus easily, carriers, and will be a big problem. The advice to wash hands and use sanitizers is good, and that's something I'll be following. Basic masks won't stop transmission because they let air through the sides. They do help when you cough though, and with your cough kind of going into the material. It does affect vulnerable people more, like elderly or people with pre-existing conditions. Now, social distancing is key to limiting the spread. It might not affect you, but what about your parents or relatives, for example? A general theme for me is to be concerned, but don't panic. It is affecting people in their 40s, not just old people. This is a piece of news I'm going to keep on the back burner while I do a bit more research on it. But for now, I'm leaving it alone. Be prepared for this to go on for 3 to 6 months. The projections of spread from the sources that I've used, at least, were accurate, backdating to January. Therefore, much of their future projections I trust, and they've had that all along, so there have been no big surprises. I do need to go through that data though. Still be vigilant with any changes to the situation. It's very possible I will contract it. There is no vaccine. I'm not overly concerned though, because I'll be relying on my immune system to deal with it, and that's what we're expecting. I have a good survival probability given my age and health. Another point is to look after your immune system. It's all the usual stuff. There are no tricks. Good sleep, eating healthily, and finally, don't stress. This news hype is conducive of stress, so understanding the appropriate actions will help so you can put some of that stress away. It will affect the economy, so there may be possibility of job losses, company issues, but more on that in another video. What will I be actioning? So I'm not going to be overly concerned, but one of the main points is social distancing. I'll be taking this up a notch and limiting contact with people and no longer congregating in crowds unless absolutely necessary. My immune system. I'll be aiming to improve my sleep, making an effort to get enough of it and getting to bed nice and early. I'll be concentrating on eating healthily, which I have been, hydrating and keeping my alcohol consumption down. Stress. I'll be attempting to not read too much news, only checking in with the sources I trust for information. I'll generally try and keep up to date, and I'll keep researching out of my own interest, but not obsess over it, as it could compromise on my stress and anxiety levels. Right now, they're actually pretty low, especially after I've done my reading. I will inform friends of my findings so they have a distilled perspective. At least they can choose whether or not to take it on board. I'll be informing my family and helping them as much as possible. I am, however, limited by their beliefs and what they're willing to do, but I will be trying my best at least. Finally, I'll be using remote communication platforms for work instead of in-person meetings where possible. So things like Skype, Zoom, Slack. So those are my main actions. Nothing too crazy, but I will be making my efforts. So that's it for this video. I'll be releasing my thoughts on how it will be affecting businesses, possible investment ideas for the long term, as well as an update on my ongoing situation. Drop a comment below if there's anything you'd like to know. Click on the subscribe button and hit the notification bell if you'd like to keep up to date on my findings. See you soon.